Hello, I'm Mary V. Today, let's talk about how to loosen a very rigid left hand. So unfortunately, many people develop a way of playing that is very tight between the first finger and the thumb. They're holding on very rigidly. But because they have quite long fingers, they're able to play for quite a long time like that. But the difficulty is that violinists need to be able to shift and also do vibrato. And in those two things, the hand needs to move. And with a very, very tight hold here, the hand is rigid and it can't move and you can't do vibrato. So the first thing to do is to see what your shifting is like. A nice big long shift right up to the top of the fingerboard and back. And to see whether you're able to shift loosely and easily without sticking too much and everything being too tight, because you do get a lot of drag with a very tight hand. Now, once you do that, you realize that you are able to move your hand, right? Now, that's a good thing. Now, I would advise you to get yourself a nice wooden spoon away from the violin so that you can examine your hand without the habitual way of thinking that one has on the violin. It's very difficult to cure problems in position. You've got to sort of have a different mindset away from the violin so that you can examine things. So put your thumb on one side and have your hand straight, but touch the wooden spoon with the inside of your first finger. Right? Now, if you're gripping really hard between the thumb and the inside of the first finger, then really look at it and just loosen it off. So it's in position, but it's not tight. It's not a tight grip. Now, from that position, start grazing the fingers, the hand, up and down the shaft of the wooden spoon, just with straight fingers. Now, you'll see that the thumb stays in place. It's rolling a little bit because of the movement, do you see? It rolls a little bit, but the hand is moving. Now make quite a big movement like this, backwards and forwards, and prove to yourself that the thumb is helping you stay in place, but your hand can move. Okay, so once you can do that without gripping, put your first finger down very, very lightly, and again, check whether you're gripping a lot automatically. And if you are, just loosen it so it's quite light. Now with your finger down, very lightly move your hand backwards and forwards. And you'll see there is a sort of rolling action of the thumb. That's natural. This is a big movement, right? So with your first finger, you're gently sliding up and down behind the thumb and in front of the thumb. Now don't worry if this isn't exactly violin position. What this is doing is showing you that you can put your fingers down, or your first finger down, and you're able to move it loosely, right? To slide it behind the thumb and in front of the thumb. Now, this is terribly important to give you the feeling that you are able to move your hand, that you are able to have a relationship between either this part of the first finger or this part of the first finger and the thumb without this incredible grip, this squeeze, this rigidity. So you need to sort of do quite a lot of this to see how it feels, really see how your thumb acts, whether there's any rigidity, so that you develop the ability to be able to do this lightly. Now, on the wooden spoon, make sure that you can tap your fingers, that you can put your fingers down. And again, the major question to ask is, can I do this loosely? So you may find it helpful to try touching the wooden spoon with the inside of the first finger and putting your first finger down, and also with a space, not touching. So make sure you can do both of those things, okay? Loosely. So once you can do that, then place the wooden spoon on your collarbone and let it come out as if it's the violin. So your hand is turned now to violin position. Now with your thumb on one side, and this time with all your fingers in violin position, first of all, check that there's no tightness between the first finger and the thumb, right? With all your fingers in violin position, and see if you can slide all the fingers together in violin position up and down the neck or the wooden spoon. And just, if there's any tightness, then stop and just loosen it. And keep practicing that until you can do it loosely, okay? Now, once you can do all those things, do we then try this on the violin, okay? So let's take the first exercise that we did, which is thumb on one side and the hand straight like this. And let's see if we can start with no gripping and just lightly graze the inside of the first finger with the finger straight and see if you can move your hand, right? And that's touching the neck of the violin. Okay, so keep that nice and light. Now, once you can do that and keep the violin down in this position, and put your first finger down, and this time don't have the inside of your first finger touching, but turn your hand round so it's nice and open. So there's a big space between the neck and the first finger. Now this time, very, very lightly, see if you can slide your first finger, and notice that it's the thumb that's allowing the hand to move. Do it nice and big behind the thumb and in front of the thumb, right? Now, once you can do that, put all your fingers down in violin position and see if you can move your fingers. And you'll see that the thumb is kind of rolling like that, but it's staying in the same position. It's in place, okay? So once you can do that, then let's try all these exercises up in violin position with the actual violin. As soon as we put our violin up, we've got these habits and we do the same thing. So hold your violin to sort of support it, make it a little bit lighter. And then put your hand up with straight fingers and start by asking yourself, am I gripping? So just holding but not gripping, okay? See if you can move your hand with straight fingers. Okay, so you're moving your hand. Now what you're doing is teaching your thumb what to do and teaching your hand how to move, okay? So I am touching the side of the violin, the neck, right? But it's just not gripping. I'm able to move, okay? So once we can do that, let's try the first finger moving up and down. And really, you can touch the neck or have a space. It really doesn't matter, so long as you can move it, okay? Now notice that the thumb is rolling and the wrist is being used as a pivot. So quite a lot of movement there behind the thumb, in front of the thumb, right? So get that movement going, get your hand to move and prove to yourself that you don't need to grip the violin. Now do try without your hand and you'll see whether you can actually keep on doing this, either holding or without holding, right? So the next thing is the exercise with all the fingers together in violin position. So do remember that trying to change what you're doing on the violin from a position of trying to change it and trying to remember how to change it is not a good idea. It doesn't really work. That's why we need to, rather than change a habit, we need to just replace it and abandon the old one. And that's why, by giving ourselves different positions and different sensations, it's much, much easier for the body to absorb a new instruction or habit that you want to form. Okay, so don't do this for a long, long time. Just do it in very short bursts like this. And ask yourself the right questions. Am I gripping, or can I do this loosely? So let's go back to the wood spoon and have a little look at the vibrato action. So the vibrato action starts with a loose finger. Say, take the second finger. So the first question you have to ask, not too tight, okay? So then you just slide, right? And you get the action going. And it's very useful to have the first finger slightly raised, like high fits. Okay, if you see pictures of high fits, he's using his first finger to stay very, very loose. He uses it to help himself a lot. So lift up your first finger and get that second finger going, just loosely, and just slide it, right? So the issue is that the hand has to move. So see if you can move the hand. It doesn't have to be very fast, right? Once you can get that going, then make the movement a lot smaller, okay? A lot smaller. And here is the thing you have to do, is to put your finger down just enough to stop it sliding, okay? So once you can move it, and then you make it smaller, just see if you can put it down on the spoon and sort of move. And keep your thumb nice and loose. So that's the beginning movement of vibrato. And the looser that you can keep your hand, the better your vibrato will be. So it can be very helpful when you're trying to stay loose and get your vibrato going to lean your violin against a wall or a table and just see if that help from holding the violin like that on a table helps you to be able to stay nice and loose. Because once you get the movement going, then you're able to, it gets stronger and stronger, and you're able to hold the violin with a violin hold, but also be able to move your hand like that. So getting from a very tight violin hold to being able to have a hand that's loose enough to do vibrato isn't the easiest thing to do, but it is logical steps that you have to take, especially if you've developed a habit of playing very, very tightly. It's something that you're going to have to address if you do want to do vibrato. But the other thing is that it's much more comfortable and pleasurable playing the violin without tightness and pain. So that's another reason to sort of take a step aside and have a look at the way that your hand is so tight and see if you can just do these simple exercises to get your hand moving and to get the relationship of what the first finger is doing a bit healthier. Okay, so good luck with that. I hope you found this helpful, and I'll say bye-bye for now. Bye.